Hey everybody, welcome in. James Phillips here. This is our Southern Orthopedic DME PrepZone bracket breakdown. First time ever, and I'm joined by Brian Hale, Jeffrey Winborn, and Jonathan Bentley. Today we don't have coaches and players. It's only us guys, so if you want to go ahead and hit stop now, hit stop. But if you want to hear about what's going to happen in high school football playoffs, this is your place. So guys, any opening comments before we start with the teams that we have in the playoffs this week?
Nothing more than just the two big surprises that we have in the playoffs being Carbon Hill and Cordova. I don't think at the beginning of the year any of us would have seen that coming.
No, I don't think so. Especially with Carbon Hill, because that was a team that was 5-5 last year, and they lost everybody. Mm-hmm. Like everybody that contributed, just about, except for 2 or 3 players, were gone. I would have never picked them to make the playoffs this year. And then Cordova starts off 0-5.
I mean, by the middle of the season, we were all saying this team's better than their record.
Right.
But I don't think really any of us thought that they'll make the kind of run they did and actually end up in the playoffs.
Right.
You called it. Didn't you say they'd make it? They'd go 5-5?
I did call it. I said they'd finish their last 5 undefeated. And I think some people sitting in this room were doubting me.
Was it on your notes, James?
It was not in my notes. It was not.
Well, also, guys, to that effect, who would have thought going into the Dora game that corner could have possibly made this?
Right.
They were looking, after all the injuries, they were looking really shaky. And they just went on a tremendous run to end out the year as well, so credit them.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Let's start off with a team that we knew would be in the playoffs, without a doubt. Class 2A, Addison. Addison's finished the year on a good roll. They lost 2 games this season, which is kind of not Addison style. Usually they've got 1 loss probably going into the playoffs most of the time. They're going to host North Sand Mountain. This is the first time we've seen North Sand Mountain against one of our teams as far back as I can remember, and that goes back 20-something years. But surely Addison wins this game and moves on in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, right now, their 2 losses were Piedmont because they had 8 touchdowns. Piedmont. I mean, they're a top, whatever classification they're in this class 3, they're always a state contender. They lost that just by a few points and on 8 turnovers. So also Red Bay, their other loss, systematic, a lot of home cooking from everything that we've heard about that game. So Addison's 2 losses are offset. I believe that they're going to probably go deep in the playoffs, and it starts automatically at North Sand Mountain.
I pretty much echo everything you said. I mean, Monday night, whenever I started putting DMEPrepZone.com, visit it this Friday for everything related to high school playoffs as they're happening. When I started putting that together and I read North Sand Mountain, I was like, I don't even know who this is.
Right.
Like, did I read that right? All I know is that Addison coming into 2A, they're a really good team. Their 2 losses, like you said, it's not indicative of who this team is. And I agree with you. They're going to win this one. I think they'll win it pretty easily, and they'll go deep into this thing.
Yeah, I don't know what else can be said. I mean, Smothers isn't going to lose this game. It's at home. It's Addison. It's first round. I mean, they always bulldoze through this game.
Right.
North Sand Mountain has a good record, 7-3, but I doubt they've played the competition either that Addison's faced.
Yeah, definitely they haven't played Piedmont, teams like that. And Sand Mountain, best known for rattlesnakes and strychnine. That's where snake handling is famous in Alabama, in case you guys didn't know.
I've actually got a cousin back in 1992 that was quarterback for North Sand Mountain, so I knew about him.
Wow, how about that?
Yeah, I don't think they went to the playoffs.
Now, the only thing I disagree with you guys on, if you look further into the bracket, I don't know if this is a deep run for the Bulldogs, because second round, they match up with Aliceville, and that is a tough football program that is constantly getting 3rd, 4th, even state finals. That's going to be a tough second-round matchup.
And I think that's going to be the point where we're going to find out what this Addison team is really made of. Are they going to live up to how good we all think they are, or are they going to lose that game? And that's just the test that we're waiting to see. I mean, as far as this first game, I don't think any of us doubt what's going to happen. But if they can get through that one, that second round that you're talking about, then we'll know just how good they are.
Right. If they can get through that second round, just looking at the bracket, it is a deep run. I think they definitely can pull off another win or two after that, but that's going to be a very, very tough game.
played them last year. Aliceville put them out in the third round.
Right.
If you can get through Aliceville and Fife in the north, you're probably got a good chance to win it.
Yeah. Well, if you can get through Aliceville and Fife and you don't win it,
Something's wrong.
Yeah, there's a problem.
Something's wrong.
All right, hey, let's move on to Class 3A. We've got Carbon Hill, who we talked about, probably our biggest surprise to make it to the playoffs. First time in 20 years. Last time they were in the playoffs was 1999. That year they went to the third round and lost to Deschler, who was the eventual state champions, I believe, that year. This year they're playing a team that I'd never heard of until like 3 weeks ago. Pike Road, like I've never, but I've been told that they're a growing school, and that the next time the count comes out, Pike Road could be as large as a 6A school. And so I think we could probably do an all-in, but I'd rather hear what you guys have to say about Carbon Hill. So let's see what y'all have to say.
Well, momentum-wise, Carbon Hill's got some coming in, but Carbon Hill, I don't think that they have quite the components to advance to a second round. Don't know much about Pike Road, but I just know that Carbon Hill is a real good feel-good story that we have this year. I just don't think that they have the components in place to be able to advance to the second round.
I agree. They struggled in that last game against Curry, a team that honestly they should not have struggled against. I think for Carbon Hill, it's a successful season just getting here. Mm-hmm. Coach Williams' first year, I think you take this game for what it is. You made it to the playoffs, and you start looking to the future, and you try to build on this season and try to just look for the next 2, 3, 4 years and see what you can turn this program into. But I don't think that they are consistent enough to be able to win this game.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's the bottom floor. You got to lay that foundation. And Chavis, I think last year and this year, to have 9 wins in 2 years for Carbon Hill, I mean, that's the best they've done in 20 years probably. But Pike Road, I don't know anything about them. I don't even know what they're called.
Right.
Pikes.
You haven't looked up the mascot yet?
I'm not.
The Road Dogs.
Maybe. I don't know.
But this will be, I mean, they're 10-0 for a reason. It's only their second year. Like you said, everybody's saying it's in an area where they didn't have a school, so now it's just a huge school out of nowhere.
Right. Yeah.
So it'll probably be 5A next year at least.
Yeah.
It's going to be a tough road for Carbon Hill.
And if they did happen to win that game, it looks like they'd have to travel all the way down to Mobile probably. Mobile Christian and Geneva are playing, and Mobile Christian's favored in that game. So if somehow you win in Montgomery, you got an even longer trip the second week. That's a tough road for anybody. But I'm like you guys. I don't think they're going to make it past this first round. But it is a great story that Carbon Hill's in the playoffs. All right. Also in 3A, same region as Carbon Hill, Oakman, and they've got to travel as well. They're traveling to St. James. Oakman has been in this situation before, though, multiple times in the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years. They've been a 3 seed, go on the road, and they pick up a win, even on a long road trip. What do you guys think about this season? Can the Wildcats pull that off?
Well, right now, I think the biggest point of contention for Oakman is really consistency on offense. I think on offense they're having a hard time producing, which really doesn't make any sense because you consider that they've got so many big players in. That's, I think, their biggest problem. Also, defensively, it's kind of a mishmash. At times they play good, at times they don't. So, really right now that I'm looking at it, Oakman, I think, has a decent chance of winning it, but I don't think that they will. I think they're probably, out of all of our road teams, I think that they're up there, but it's still not going to be enough. So I'm going to probably go at this point. As much as I hate who was St. James.
There you go.
St. James is a team that they've scored 40 points or more in 6 games this year. They've given up 15.5 points per game. Oakman's defense is good. I don't think St. James is going to get close to that 40-point mark. But the problem is, like you said, Oakman's offense is not consistent enough. They're not going to outscore them. No matter how good their defense plays, and they'll keep them in it to maybe late third quarter, but they're just not going to be able to outscore them. Christian Hubbard, as good as he is, he can't carry that team to what they need to be able to do to outscore a team like this.
Oakman, they don't want to hear this. They're kind of like the Auburn of a high school because they can. Their defense is great. They've only given up more than 20 points once. It was last week in double overtime. But They can't. Just struggle on offense. Can't get consistent scoring. If they could be sitting here 8-2, 9-1. And they've lost a lot of close games. But this one will probably be like last year when they went to Pike County.
Right.
James went to that.
Yeah.
It was 21-8. I could see something like that.
Yeah, I could too. Now that game was just,
that was miserable.
Yeah, out in the elements and the weather. Jeffrey was there the first night when the wall fell on everybody.
Yeah, that was a disaster.
And then I had to go back a couple days later on a Monday, and it was just pouring rain, and I've never seen a field in that bad a condition. I was standing in over ankle deep of water, and the Oakman players were almost in knee deep sometimes where they were out on the field. But I think Oakman. I'm with you guys. I think Oakman can win this game, but if I'm picking and you want me to pick the game, I got to go with St. James, even though I know nothing about them. But Oakman's just not been consistent enough. As Jonathan brought up, they could be 8-2 or 9-1 right now if they had some consistent offense, or if they could just kind of help Hubbard out at some point. I think that's the thing. It's Hubbard, but can the passing attack stretch the field a little bit? And that's what they need to happen, is for that to happen. I'm going to go with St. James, though.
And you're no saint, by the way.
Well, thank you. I have been called a heretic many times. Okay, how about Class 4A? We've got Cordova, and they're a 4 seed. They started out 0-5. We've talked about it plenty of times. Now they're 5-5, 5 straight wins. They're having to travel to Jacksonville. Jacksonville, a very good football team. But I think if anybody's playing with momentum, it's definitely the Blue Devils at this point.
Cordova is dangerous right now. I mean, when you think about that, they have reeled off 5 victories. They have found incredible leaders in between Kason Smith, Justin Wallace, their wide receiver, Adam O'Rear, has really come on. And this defense really capitalizes on turnovers. They're going to need all that to beat Jacksonville. Like Oakman, I give Cordova a good chance, but unfortunately, it's probably not going to be enough. If they can get those turnovers on defense and get good execution, they can certainly beat Jacksonville, but I don't think it's going to be quite enough.
This is one of the most intriguing first-round games in our area for me because, like you said, Cordova has that X factor right now. They have momentum. To be able to string together 5 wins the way they have, it's remarkable, considering where they came from last year. I mean, this is a complete, unprecedented turnaround for a football team. And it's amazing, but the problem is I don't think they are where they need to be at yet to make a playoff run. If they can carry this momentum into next year and win 7, 8, 9 games, that's where they need to be at. But I just think this year, despite the momentum, they're just not where they need to be.
Yet again, it's kind of like a foundation year. Mm-hmm. And it's gone as well as they could expect. If they had this schedule, the reverse of what it is, this could have been yet again another 8-2 team. So Jacksonville, I hope they just look at the record and say, hey, this is a 5-5 team. We're going to run them out of the stadium. If they do that, they can be in trouble. I mean, they can be beaten, but like Brian said, it's going to take a lot of things coming together. So I'll take Jacksonville on that one.
Yeah, I think I'm going Jacksonville too. I'm like you guys. I think Cordova, it wouldn't completely shock me if they pulled off an upset because they're definitely better than what their 5-5 record. And they've come through a pretty tough region too. That's a pretty good region. But I think if we look back now, if Cordova's playing a couple of these teams that they lost to early in the year, they win those games like Adora or Fayette County or Hamilton. I think Cordova wins those games at this point. If they do win, they match up with probably Brooks in the second round or St. Paul. So, I think that if they can win this first one, it's definitely winnable once you get to the second round. Deschler's is roaming out there still. Let's go. Those are the teams that I think you got to look at in 4A and Northside. Like that's a team pretty close to us that has had a great season, only losing to Corner, who we'll talk about in a little bit. But I'm going Jacksonville too. I think Jacksonville pulls off the win. It's going to be a lot closer than what anybody who's not from Walker County and Cordova thinks it's going to be, though. Okay, now we move to our last classification, Class 5A, And we'll start with the lower seed, Corner. Corner, we didn't think they'd be in this spot probably after the first few weeks of the season when that injury bug hit. But, man, Coach Clements has done a great job. And but they've got to travel to a 1 seed in Madison County. Jonathan, you probably know more about that area up there than the rest of us because you're from Huntsville and North Alabama, but typically not a hotbed for just absolute great football there in that region.
No. I mean, I think if you look, this team lost to Buckhorn. It's my school, terrible.
Right.
Like a 4. They barely made, they're 4-6 and made the playoffs.
Right.
If this game was at Corner, I think I'd take them pretty easily, but it's going to be tough to make a road trip. But Madison County has no tradition. I mean, they did make the semifinals twice. It's been like 5 or 6 years ago. That's their best run. I mean, I can't look at them and take them seriously. You know, from when I went to school, they're in Gurley, Alabama. So what's that tell you?
Oh, yeah.
That was a small school then. I mean, they did win that area for what that's worth. Not much. They're 8-2. If Corner just limits mistakes and capitalizes on what they can get, I think they can win this game.
Yeah.
I think it's like close to a 50-50 shot.
Yeah.
This is a weird game to pick because you look at Corner's 2 of their losses to Jasper and Russellville, they were outscored 83-7, but they were at that time decimated by injuries. That was not Corner what they are now.
Right.
The problem is we don't know what Corner at full strength looks like against full competition. Should they go in and play the best they can? Yeah, they have a chance to win. But the fact is, it's just kind of a question mark. We don't know what they're going to bring.
Well, I've seen Corner, 2 weeks ago against Lawrence County, albeit in extremely sloppy conditions. I just think to myself, they have made a lot of adjustments, but unfortunately, it's not going to be quite enough. I mean, they have got good quarterback play in Daniel. They've got a good system of running backs, and they've got wide receivers, and their defense is not playing not playing too bad. But it's almost since that Week 5 Dora game, they're in some kind of transition. They have been trending with that transition extremely well, but it's like they don't quite have quite enough to get past Madison County right now at this point. So I'm going to go Madison County, but kind of like with Cordova and Oakman, I do give Corner a good chance. But at the same time, you've got to wonder, guys, if all these injuries wouldn't occur, I don't think Corner would be in this spot. I think they'd probably be number 2 in the region right behind Jasper.
Right. That's what I was about to say is that, I feel like this is more of a matchup of a couple of 2 seeds because you probably didn't expect Madison County to be in this spot in the driver's seat. A lot of us at the beginning of the year would have said Madison Academy is better than them. And then Corner, we were talking about at the beginning of the season, this is a team that might could push Jasper. And we saw them against really good competition the first week of the season against Northside, and they win that game. Now they still got injuries because I know their starting running back was out and will not be back. I don't know how many of the other ones have come back, but just the adjustments and things like that they've been able to make, I still think they're going to be a little undermanned, and I'll go with Madison County too. But this is going to be like as close as it could be, and it's probably going to come down to some home cooking for Madison County to win the game.
Corner has 1 playoff win. It's history.
Right.
1 in 13, I think.
Right.
So it'd be nice if they could somehow pull that off.
And you don't see many 1 and 4 upsets either.
No. Very, very seldom.
But I think in this one, I mean, I was as close as could be to pick Corner just because I really think there's a chance they could win that one. But the smart money's got to go with Madison County. Now, if Corner does win, they match up with Alexandria and Sylacauga in the second round. Those are going to be tough teams, but they're also teams that Corner could beat if they can get past this first one. And we'll talk about they might, if you get lucky and you get on a roll, they may be Jasper playing them in the third round. I think that may be where it would end.
I love that.
But that would be great for us.
Oh, yeah.
All right, let's talk about Jasper. Jasper, undefeated, number 1 Class 5A. The Vikings have had really 0 competition this season other than the Central Clay game. And that one we could talk about that one all day long and as to why it was as close as it was. But they're hosting Madison Academy, a team that I mentioned, a lot of tradition. Now, of course, that was probably when they were 3A, I think. They won state championships, so they've struggled a little bit as they've moved up. But still very dangerous. Their quarterback's actually originally from Jasper. It's something I found out over the weekend. And I think he's if Caden Shelton's to be believed, they're cousins in some way. They're related. And the quarterback has got more than 3,000 all-purpose yards on the year, so they can move the ball around. But surely we would think Jasper's going to win this one and win it fairly easy, I would think.
I don't think that they've seen a defense like Jasper's this year. I think that's one of the key things.
I don't know if anybody's seen a defense like Jasper's
No,
this year.
And I don't think that they're going to see it until you get into the late rounds also. So I think that Jasper defense shuts them down, and I don't think that quarterback's going to see the speed on defense at all. And offensively, what are you going to stop? You're going to try to stop the run? Okay, well, they're going to go through the air on you. Obviously, the Vikings will. If you're going to try to stop the pass, okay, well, Shelton's going to clear out the room for you. So I don't see this. This is going to be a blowout.
Yeah, I've got my notes here.
I didn't steal your notes.
You did not steal my notes. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Every game I have notes on, Jasper, nothing. I just have them highlighted to win.
Right.
This is not going to be close. I've praised Jasper all year long for that defense. You look at the 5A bracket on that side. There are two teams in that bracket that's going to challenge Jasper. And if everything falls right, both Central Clay and Mortimer Jordan will be played over here in Cairo Gambro. And I think that's a huge benefit. If Jasper can get through those two teams, if it comes down to it, I think we'll be making a trip to Auburn later this year.
This is just one where you look at who's next.
Right.
Yeah. Who is next?
Who is next is Central Clay.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Yeah.
We can't talk about that yet, but
But if you look ahead to that second round, Central Clay's hosting Sardis. Come on. Is Sardis going to win that game?
so that will be here since they beat them straight up.
Well, it would be here just by the way the bracket falls and everything. It would be here second round, no matter what. Jasper would host, but I mean that was an incredible game. We called it game of the century, kind of jokingly, but kept pushing that game of the century idea with Jasper and Clay during the regular season because it was a number 1, number 2 matchup, and it came down to the wire, overtime, and Jasper wins it. But I still feel like just looking at the two teams that night, Jasper's a 2-touchdown better team.
Don't jinx them.
Yeah, and I don't want to
You
jinx
jinxed them last year.
I said that about Mortimer Jordan last year, and that did not turn out the way that we had hoped it would. But that's looking ahead, that's definitely something to look at. And I think looking at the other bracket, the other part of this side of the North, I feel like Sylacauga is the team to watch out of that group because they're in the same region with Central Clay and Mortimer Jordan, and they have beaten and they've played against quality teams. So I think that's the team that Jasper has to look for, as we go down to the third round even.
But, I mean, this will be, everybody talks about the defense, and they talk about the whole team.
Right.
But this offense has already scored, I think, 421, and it's 42 a game.
Right.
And this will be 50, I'm guessing, this week for them.
Well, and last week, Jasper scored,
35.
35, and we were acting like the offense had disappeared, against Deschler, who's a perennial playing in the championship game team. We scored 35 points, and we feel like we didn't play very well on offense, I think the offense gets things right this week. I think you'll see a lot more from the passing attack. Last week against Deschler, they really shut it down to the second half, and they brought the second unit in early, didn't want to get anybody hurt, ran the football, ran the clock out. I think this week we see Parker Sawyer take it to the air probably more than we've seen the whole season. I'm thinking 300 yards of passing.
Well, this is the kind of game that I look at, and I don't question who's going to win. I question if Jasper's going to get another shutout.
Right.
I mean, that's just the way I feel about this one. This is not even going to be close to me.
Hidden advantage in the long term, guys, throughout the playoffs, you've got to have depth. That's something that obviously Jasper is working on every single week. They're putting those twos in, offense and defense. So it's right now, if somebody goes down outside of, Caden, I know obviously J.C. Collins went down, so that would strain. But in so many positions, there's depth. In the long run, that's a huge advantage.
Mm-hmm.
When you bring up J.C. Collins, that's another thing. He'll be back for this game. That's the plan that I heard, is that J.C. will play. Don't know how strong that knee will be because he's got a little bit of a knee issue. But to bring that two-headed monster back of him and Shelton, and then you've already got Trayvon Stewart who's picked up the pace, that's an impressive running back stable that not many people are going to be able to stop at all.
No.
It'd be nice to get him in now
Right.
for big games later.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure we won't see J.C. carrying the ball 25 times, but you get him in for a few of those power runs. If he gets 8 carries in the game, he's probably going to run for 80 yards and a touchdown, All right, well, hey, we actually agreed on every game. I don't think we had any differences. Is that right?
It's first round of the playoffs, so a lot of times that happens.
Yeah, that's true because there's just so many mixed matches. But there's some that could go either way. I really thought you were going to pick Oakland.
I was really leaning to picking them, but I just don't think that there's enough consistency on offense for them to do it.
Right. Do we need to transition to one particular college football game? There's a big one this weekend in case anybody hadn't heard of it.
I heard the president's coming.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
That's how big it is.
That'll be fun. Alabama and LSU in Tuscaloosa. Game day's there. The president's there. I don't think he's going to be the guest picker, even though I kind of like to see it. What's y'all's take?
Well,
Because I think me and Jeffrey have a different take.
and see, I'm going to slide out here. I'm just going to say mine real quick. I read on AP that Tua was back practicing lightly. I think probably today he'll pick up any more. That indicates to me that they're probably going to go ahead and make him the game. So because of that, I'm going to give it to Bama by this much. And I'm going to slide back here because I want to see the debate here.
Well, it'll be okay. You can
Yeah,
stay
it'll be
where
fine.
you're at.
Look, it has been 2,921 days since Alabama lost a game to LSU.
Is that what your notes say?
No, that's what my phone says because I've been counting it for the last 5 years.
I got you.
Look, me and you've kind of disagreed on this because you said you think Alabama's going to win this and win it fairly, not easily, but by a decent margin. Here's the problem. Joe Burrow, he has had 205 completions. He's thrown for 1,800 yards this year. The question for Alabama is Tua's ankle. Can Tua Tagovailoa be 100%? If he is not 100%, all it's going to take is one bad hit, and Mac Jones is back in this game. If Mac Jones plays in this game, Alabama's not going to win it. And I watched Jones against Arkansas. He's a good quarterback, but he's not Tua, and he's not going to outscore LSU's offense. My other concern for Alabama is their secondary. Brian, you've mentioned it multiple times on our wrap-up shows. That secondary has given up a lot of huge plays this year. You look at, they gave up 324 yards against South Carolina. They gave up 264 against Texas A&M. Both of those teams are not exactly proficient passing teams. Alabama's secondary has given up a lot of huge plays, and Joe Burrow and his receivers will take advantage of that. My fear is not that Joe Burrow is going to come in there and blow out Alabama. If it becomes a shootout and you're having to rely on Alabama's kicking game to win that football game, it's not going to be 9-6, but it might be the same result.
That's why I said by 2 points, because I think it's going to be a 2-point conversion that wins the game. But please.
Do we have a countdown on how long that take took? Didn't Bo Nix almost beat LSU?
Yeah, I remember seeing Bo Nix.
And I'll tell you, that Auburn game that LSU and that they played, that changed my opinion a little bit on this game. Because I start now to wonder if LSU's actually really been tested against a decent defense.
Right. Well, my take is that you're the only person that didn't get the memo that we were wearing blue today. You're in a crimson shirt.
Well, here's my thing.
Did you pick a winner?
Yeah,
I didn't hear a winner.
right there.
So you're picking Alabama.
Yes, I am picking Alabama.
I thought he was picking LSU.
So we're all the same here. All Alabama.
I haven't made my pick yet.
No, I am picking Alabama. But if it turns into a shootout and it comes down to a field goal game, Alabama fans need to be really worried about this. Now, you called out the shirt. I believe I remember on Saturday morning on the DME wrap-up, somebody, Brian, you were there, somebody decided to call me out in my loyalties.
Yeah, I did.
So I figured I would have to set the record straight with that and wear the appropriate colors.
I got you. Well, I thought you were picking LSU the whole time.
No, but my thing
I
with
feel like this has changed. Right, Bentley?
Well, Bo Nix was just a couple weeks ago. That might have
That's
changed
true.
his opinion.
That probably
I-
did. And
without-
that did
to-
change it a lot.
to be honest, without that Auburn game, I probably would have picked LSU.
Yeah.
That Auburn game kind of changed my opinion on it in a lot of ways. And it could have just been an off game. They could have been looking ahead. There's a lot of factors that could play into that.
Right.
But if Bama's defense can affect them the way Auburn's obviously did, I mean, it could go exactly the way you're thinking. Before that one, I probably would have leaned LSU.
I feel like you. I do agree. I think the Auburn game is a. They gave Bama a blueprint on how you affect that LSU offense, but also LSU had not played a defense like that. You know, leading up to that, you know, they've played teams, Vanderbilt and different teams that I don't think have the horses to stay in the game with them.
Yeah, and I think that the closest was that Florida game,
Yeah.
which even that was tied 21-all at halftime.
Right,
before
and that
LSU
was close all the way till the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
And then some mistakes from Florida kind of put that game away. But I think, to me, it comes down to two people. It comes down to Nick Saban and Ed Orgeron. And I'm just taking Nick Saban every time.
Yeah.
I mean, I like Farmer Fran as much as anybody. But I feel like if it gets down and we're talking about a close game, who do you want making the decisions?
I don't want Joseph Bullivus kicking a field goal.
I don't want that. But what does LSU have in that regard? You know, do they really have somebody that's going to be ice in the veins when it comes down to, you know, game of the century? I don't know. And we're in Tuscaloosa. I think home field gives it to me. I think Alabama wins it due to the home field. I think they win it if Mac Jones have to play. That's how confident I am. I think if Tua plays, it's a 2-touchdown game. Alabama wins it. If Mac Jones plays, it's going to be close like you guys are talking about. But I think the defense is finally going to step up. And, you know, we talk about Saban. He's the defensive back guy. Surely he's got taken this off week, and the defensive backs are ready to play.
I was about to make that point. If there was ever a time that Alabama needed a bye week to get that secondary shored up, this was it.
Right.
And they need to have done it, or else they're going to be in for a long day in Tuscaloosa.
And how much motivation do they have that Alabama's dropped from 1 to 2? LSU's number 1. They take your spot, you know? Like, that's a lot of motivation. And you're playing at home. I'm glad we could all agree now that Alabama wins. Did you make your pick, Bentley?
You gonna let me?
Go ahead.
No, I mean, at home, this game, games like this, do they ever lose? Can you remember a game like this without a regular season game with this much on it that they actually lost?
Ole Miss.
That's early in the year, though.
Yeah, that was a long
that's
time, years ago. About 3 years ago.
Hey, you said ever.
But yeah, and a game like this, it'll probably, I'm thinking 10 points.
Probably the last time was
I'm thinking
when they
Tua
lost.
will play. Obviously, he's not going to miss this game, right?
Right. No, there's no way.
The eyes of the nation, of college nation, will be on this. He'll be there.
Yeah.
This will be his chance to make up for missing that Arkansas game that nobody even remembers.
Make up for that. He could have thrown
He could
5
have put up,
touchdowns
huge
and 400 yards.
numbers. But he did pick it. I mean, it is highlighted there. He didn't change his mind.
Right there.
There you
On
go.
my notes.
There you go. Okay, well, any other parting comments before we go? This was fun not having any coaches or players in this week, just us talking over the high school games. And
Have y'all noticed that as the seasons went along, the four of us have gotten just a little chippier and chippier every week?
yeah, I think so.
I think we're just spending too much time together, guys.
Yeah, we don't like each other at this point.
Hopefully, we'll have Cordova players in here or something like that next week.
Yeah.
Corner, Bina Oakman.
I'd
Somebody
love
pull
to
an
have an upset. I think
Yeah.
I think we're confident that we'll see Jasper next week.
Oh, yeah.
But I'd love it for one of those other Walker County schools or Corner to, and we'll have Addison too. I think they're
Yeah,
going to be
they're going to be here.
But it would be cool to be able to talk to a Cordova or Corner coach and player here next week. All right, well, for all these guys, I'm James Phillips, and we'll see you guys Friday night when the playoffs start. See you then.